readers, I come to you with an October wrap-up, reviews, all the things. I read 5 books this month. This is 4 of them. The 5th one was an audiobook. First book that I read in October was The Body Electric by Beth Revis, and this is a YA sci-fi set in the very much future, set in the same universe as Across the Universe series, but it's set on Earth, and Earth has basically been rebuilt, and it's about this girl, and her parents are scientists. Basically, everybody's sciencey forward in this novel, for the most part. There are some government people, there's a little bit of government conspiracy in this book, but her mother has this dream spa where you get hooked up and you can relive memories from the past, and so that kind of plays a part in it, and there are all sorts of fees because that's part of it too. I received this book for review from Beth Revis, and she was wonderful enough to send me one of the limited edition copies of her book, and this has like that nice buttery feel to it, which is nice, especially for a freaking paperback version, and it's nice and hefty. It's very durable. I did not break the spine at all, which was surprising because it's how many pages? Like 350 pages or so, and it's like nice and hefty, so it's, if you ever get a copy, or if another run of or printing of this happens, it's nice to have a physical copy. You can get it on ebook on, you know, major places and all that stuff, but I really enjoyed this. I thought that the characters were fun, and the I like YA sci-fi. I don't read a lot of it, but I like to get into that world of like science and stuff like that, and being like, huh, what if you know, in the future, blah blah blah, because I don't think this is quite dystopian, but it's definitely like in the future and things are a little bit different. I don't know. I don't know if I would call it dystopian, but I would definitely call it like YA sci-fi. It's running and doing crazy stuff, and there's a lot of secrets going on, and a lot of crazy, and oh my gosh. I just love Beth Revis and her writing and everything. She's wonderful. She's great. The next book that I read in October was Sway by Kat Spears, and I picked this up at BEA. I was walking past this publisher's booth aisle thing, and this lady was like, hey, debut author, here you go. And I was like, that looks awesome. The cover is different from the cover that you will see now. It's a little bit different. I'll post that right here. But basically, it's about this guy. Yes, it's from a guy's perspective, even though it's a YA contemporary, and he's basically the worst person you could ever imagine. He does a little bit of good, but for the most part, he has figured out how to basically play everybody at school and get paid for it. Basically, he will figure out if a girl will go out with you and all this other stuff and get her to like you, and you know, you will have to pay him to kind of make that happen. And he helps the football team get good grades through his nerdy friend, and there's a lot of, that's the first layer, but he's also like a misogynist, and he's all sorts of stuff, like he just, everything, like he's terrible. He's a terrible person, and it took me a minute to be like, can I continue reading this book? And even though the story itself is kind of cliche, because you're sitting there thinking he's gonna have to learn some sort of lesson. He's gonna have to overcome something. He's still kind of the same person at the end of the novel. Let's put it that way. But I think it was kind of a breath of fresh air to read a novel about somebody who was terrible, because I know in contemporary there are certain books that are just like the main character is this not necessarily perfect person, but they, you know, are striving towards perfection or trying to be a better person, and it was kind of nice to read a book that was just about a guy who was like, you know what, I am a terrible person. Am I gonna change? I don't know. And of course there's other stuff going on in his life, like his mother. You'll just have to read it. I don't want to spoil anything, not really, but he's got a lot of stuff going on in his life, so you kind of feeds into his persona or whatever, but at the same time it's like, he's still a terrible person. It was still a pretty enjoyable read. I got through it in like a day or two, but it is still like, it has a deepness to it, but it's not like he's gonna leap over mountains or anything, metaphorically speaking. This next book is a book that I'm not so sure how I feel about it, because I'm not quite a fantasy person. I can't get into the higher fantasy stuff. It's Marie Lu's The Young Elites, and I liked it, and the ending definitely left me wanting to read the next book, but as far as it being like something that I'm gonna be like, yeah, everybody read this, I'm gonna be like, if you like high fantasy, okay, go for it, cool. Yeah, but if you're not so into the higher fantasy stuff, like if you're on my level of, I liked the level where, you know, this section of fantasy that's like Harry Potter and the Moral Instruments, just because, I don't know, it's got a fun aspect to it, and this one was a lot darker. Not that I have anything against darker books, but I feel like I'm just like rambling on about this, but I'm just not a fan of higher fantasy. That's just the thing. I love Marie Lu's writing. The writing was really good. I thought the characters were okay. You know, all that stuff. And it was definitely interesting. It was definitely fresh and new and all that kind of stuff, at least to me. Again, I don't read a lot of fantasy or higher up fantasy, but it's good. I got this for review from Penguin, and so yeah, that was fun stuff. The fourth book that I read was The Blood of Olympus by Rick Riordan, and this is the fifth and final book in the Heroes of Olympus series, in which we are like, oh my gosh, it's the final days before Gia rises, and all this crazy stuff is gonna happen, and the world is gonna explode! I loved the character development in this book. That's something that I was just like, whoa, this is amazing, because of the fact that Nico has a lot of like growing up to do throughout this whole series. I think he shows up in the first Percy Jackson series, maybe, possibly, I can't remember, I think so. Yes, he does. And his sister, but this one, I'm glad, because like, we got hints of stuff in the first couple of books and so about Nico and whatnot, and big stuff, but in this one, I feel like he really allows himself to get close to other people and really just opens up to everybody else, and I just, it melted my heart. Also, we get to know a little bit more about Reina, which, yes, because, I was afraid that those two characters were gonna fall into some stereotypes, especially being that this is a Disney, but it didn't, because Rick Riordan is just boss at what he does. He's good at storytelling and all that stuff. I know a lot of people were not so happy about the ending of this, but I felt like it, I see why. I see why they don't like it, but at the same time, there's two aspects of the ending. There's the end, you know what I'm talking about, but I'm going to say that this book, it opened it up so that, I mean, not necessarily opened it up, but it left it so that these characters could cross over into other series if need be. Yeah, that's what I'm going to say about that. But overall, I think that this book was quite enjoyable. I think that you can, I was thinking about this last week, I was like, you know what, you can kind of, you know, judge a series by its final book. Like, how you wrap up a series, for a lot of people that determines how, if they're going to read a series. So it's nice that, yeah, it's a little crazy, but yeah, you probably saw it coming. You probably saw it coming. The final book that I read this month, well, listened to, was Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, and it was, I believe it was narrated by Rebecca Loman, I think that's her name, and she's wonderful. She's amazing. So good. Great stuff, and I loved it. I enjoyed it. There were some stuff that I was just like, okay, let's move this along, but I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed the story. Her books are really good at just being like heartwarming and also showing some stuff, especially with the sister relationship between Kath and Rin, and just her whole world and the world of the fanfiction and getting sucked into different fandom-y kind of stuff, and I thought that it was good, and it was a good exploration of all the things that happens to Kath, and I enjoyed it very much. I know not everybody loves Rainbow Rowell, but I enjoy her stuff for what it is, and it's wonderful and heartwarming, and just everything that happens. Again, with contemporary, you've got some darker stuff, but then you have like the nice light stuff and the cutesy stuff and the ooey gooey stuff. this is what happens. I really enjoyed the audiobook. I definitely want to read some more audiobooks. This one was really well done, really well narrated, brought the story to life. I've never sat down and actually read Fangirl, the book, but the narration was very well done. So that's all for my October wrap-up, all the reviews of things that I read in October. Let me know what you read in October. What was your favorite book that you read in October? And have a great day, and keep reading.